And we back, chat. So we gotta finish the rest of this video. This David, but never really ever ready for this type of stuff, you know. But we gonna see. We got a few things. We got the Nolan Wells coming up. We gotta defend yours true captain. Yours true captain. I got your back because I got something to say about you, brother. Just hang tight for that. And yeah, we're gonna see some crazy cops do some crazy things. All right, let's see. Get the ball rolling. That's instead yeah, out, audio up. Input, output. Output would it be the audio device? Video capture. Nah, we don't got it on video capture. Audio. Alright, whatever. We can go with that. We can go with that as long as they don't got the reverb thing on, bro. I hope it ain't no filters on that mother. Alright, let's see. See what they got.
Interactions today where he's turned a little bit and
second half chat,
you know, a brief exchange of words with one of his attorneys, but other than that, he's not even moving, Jesse. It's really incredible.
But I'm not here to speculate, but I just have to ask, do you know if he's on any kind of medication or anything like that?
I don't know, Jesse, and we're not going to speculate on this show, but that is a question that's come up in sidebar conversations. We don't know, and that hasn't come up in court.
Okay.
I imagine if he is, it will.
Okay, got it.
just a weirdo, bro.
Earn Roblox digital gift
I really
cards
like,
with
bro.
Microsoft Rewards. Sign up for Microsoft Rewards and earn points for your everyday activities when you search on Bing, play on Xbox, and use other Microsoft products.
There's people like him I really wish I could just beat on for doing some weird shit like that. Alright, I know that was too violent. That was too violent. But look, it's the
We
truth.
can go from 0 to a complete
Beat on
site
that
with just
boy.
a single prompt with Wix Harmony. I don't know if this is going to be possible. Where vibe coding meets drag and drop freedom. We'll see about that. All right, let me try to make up a site to sell some like theoretical Sambucha kombucha. Make me a site about Sambucha kombucha. Make it look nice and pretty and.
All right, let's talk about the substance.
It's kind of
So
low.
the first witness
How's it sound now?
was this criminalist, right? And being questioned by the defense. What happened there?
So we ended.
Hold on, my chat saying this sounds low right now. Hold up. Same. Hold up.
Yesterday,
if it's low,
with cross-examination of an LAPD criminalist. She was the one who was called to process.
Hold on. Shit is low. See. All right, let's see if it's rolling out. Is bearable just low? Is y'all able to hear it now? My bad, chat. Y'all know how this game go. Technical difficulties. Stop acting like your daddy ain't never had no technical difficulties. He was a technical difficulty. Trying to get this through. It said it's low. Man, how is it? I'm not shit. I can't go against them if they said it's like that. They put out. I'm not even playing the game. All right, let me know if it's low now. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be low though.
Was the one who tested chainsaws found in David's house. This was just about a week after the car was found in the Hollywood tow yard with the victim's remains in the front trunk, of course. So they continued with that cross-examination.
Damn, way better.
And
All
there
right,
was
for
a
sure.
lot
We
of back
rocking.
and forth about the chainsaws. And
dead
here's
wrong.
why. Defense attorney Blair Burke noted there was no positive test indicating the possibility of blood on those chainsaws. So she kept on asking this LAPD witness for the prosecution why they didn't
Who is
take
this
those
witness?
chainsaws into evidence. It sounded like she wanted to make the point that touch DNA, which they didn't test for, may have indicated something else, may have painted a more comprehensive picture of what exactly happened and who may have been involved.
Like, bro, was
Who
it
else
worth it?
may have been involved, that is. But the criminalist was very sharp, very clear with her answers. At one point yesterday, she even brought her notes back out to make sure that she gave precisely the information that was documented during this investigation. So she said there did not appear to be any kind of forensic value to those chainsaws that were found in the garage, and that's why they were not taken into evidence. So my big takeaway from all of this is that perhaps those were not the weapons or tools used for dismemberment, even though they were found in David's garage during this search.
Let me just clarify this point,
How?
just so it's clear for our audience. Is it? I heard there was reporting, maybe even testimony, about a missing chainsaw. I don't know if that's accurate.
Yeah.
And what about any evidence of a cleanup, including of the chainsaws? Correct me if I'm wrong about either of those points.
Correct on the first point. There was another chainsaw, a Makita brand chainsaw that we talked about the other day that was ordered online and delivered to David's house. As far as I know, from the evidence presented so far, that chainsaw was not located during this search. The two other chainsaws, and here's why the criminalist
Like, bro,
said there
like-
really was no forensic value. She testified earlier that had they been used for dismemberment, there would have been no way for
just wanna
blood to
put
be
hands,
cleaned
feet,
up
and
to the
elbows on
point
him,
where
man.
their
Doing that baby
testing
like that.
did not indicate
was a
something
child, bro.
of forensic value. So when they did that initial test on scene and there was no presumptive positive, they elected not to take those two chainsaws into evidence. But yes, there is a missing one. There is another one, and I'm sure that's going to come up later in this testimony.
Look, as shocking as a case like this is, it is not a shock that there would be blood or presumed traces of blood at a crime scene. But what about fake blood? That is not something we were expecting, but it is one of the pieces of information we learned about today in David's preliminary hearing. Investigators say they found jugs of fake blood in the singer's garage. We'll talk a little bit about
Jugs
why
of
the
fake
singer may
blood?
have had that blood in his garage and how it could factor
look
into
at
this
this
case
sick,
as we move
sadistic,
forward in just a
twisted
moment with our
ass.
reporter who is in the courtroom today. I want you to also take a look at some of the new sketches that we have in from artist Mona Edwards.
And whoever be drawing, I
today,
know they
once
just
again,
love their
we're
job.
told looked emotionless as prosecutors continue to lay out
picked a
evidence
real
they
artist.
say proves that he killed Celeste as they try to move this case to the next step in the legal process. Joining us now, just stepping out of the courtroom, is Julia Dang, NBC LA reporter. Thanks for being here once again. I want to start with how things wrapped up at the end of today. And we heard from a deputy medical examiner. This is the person who did the autopsy on Celeste Rivas Hernandez. What stood out to you about what he had to say?
That's right, Chris. We just broke for the day. We actually didn't think we were going to get to this witness today, but Dr. Grantho took the stand just about 4 minutes before we wrapped for today, day 3 of this preliminary hearing in the murder case against 21-year-old David Anthony Burke. So he just started laying out his findings from this autopsy conducted September 10th. That was 2 days after this teenager's remains were found in the front trunk of David's Tesla. He's testifying about the state of decomposition. It was tough, incredibly tough to see the photos the other day in court. Hearing this testimony now from the deputy medical examiner who actually led the autopsy, this might be even tougher, Chris, in different ways. So I completely understood when the victim's parents actually got up and left the courtroom before he took the stand. They are not sitting in there for this testimony. But he's talking about the state of decomposition. He testified that when they weighed her remains, it only came out to 71 pounds. The last thing he said on the stand before we ended today was that she still had her braces on. And of course, it was the dental records that helped them make that positive identification, because when they found her remains, there was so much decomposition, there was so much skin slippage, they couldn't identify her. There simply was not enough left.
And I saw in your notes, just kind of going through it, and just that line that she still had her braces on.
That is
and
insane.
we'll talk more about her family and everything they've been going through these last couple of days. But like, that just is a reminder that we're talking about not just a person who lost their life, but such a young person at 14 years old, at the center of this case, and this week trying to see what happens next, and as far as whether it continues down the track to potentially going to trial one day. Seemed like there was a lot of DNA evidence today, and very much in the weeds about what was found, what tested positive. For you, like, what was the headline and kind of the moment when you think back through hours of testimony today, especially when it came to DNA, that really stood out to you?
If you're so profitable, why do you sell a course? Well, you know what? Here you go. I don't care. It's
insane
all
to
free.
hear,
I'm
bro.
giving it away. We have like 6 different courses in here. The same strategies that made me a full-time trader. And we have like 24,000 members inside of
hear nothing like that.
My main takeaway, Chris, is that a good defense attorney, a strong defense team, can question anything and everything. And that is going to be key if this does indeed go to trial, which I think most people in that courtroom do expect.
Bro, it's
The
125.
threshold
They're going
here
to take that
this
in there.
preliminary hearing phase is much lower. The prosecution
take that
only
from you,
needs
bro.
to show a probable cause.
They
Think
gonna
that
have
is
to-
kind of like a 51%
What Martin Lawrence said, they're
threshold.
going to shove all type of
But
burritos
if this
up
does
here.
go to trial, in order for a jury to convict, that's got to be beyond a reasonable doubt. Think of that as more like a 99.9% probability. So this is kind of like rehearsal for both sides. They're testing out their witnesses. They're seeing how they perform on this stand as humans being questioned, in front of a live audience under a lot of pressure. And we in the media, we're getting a sense of what questions might be asked during trial, how these witnesses are going to hold up, and how they might look and sound and feel to a live jury of their peers. Now, to your question about this DNA evidence, we spent the bulk of the afternoon going through that testimony. It started with questions from Deputy DA Beth Silverman. It was her witness. Samantha Tosh, an LAPD criminalist, who's from the LAPD Crime Lab, who is responsible for testing, analyzing, and reporting on DNA samples. And then defense attorneys did their cross-examination, and then that witness went back to the prosecution, and then defense had more questions for her. So what all of that adds up to is a lot of information that can be looked at different ways. right? None of this is actually definitive. And the witness, the LAPD
But
criminalist,
how? Like,
was
bro.
careful to make that clear. You know, she's using language like possible or probable. But the statistics that she laid out.
Chat. Does anybody know what's wrong with this right here? I'll wait. Chat, does anybody know what's wrong with this picture right here? Chat, lock in. Look. 2nd and 8. Huddle up. Huddle up. Let me tell you how to play right now. If you know one thing about the Shan book, the Shan handbook, one of the very first rules in the beginning, one of the 10 Shan commandments, is thou shalt not trust no nigga with no mustache. Chat, never trust a nigga with no mustache. Chat, he ain't got no mustache. Where your mustache at? Chat, don't ever trust a nigga with no mustache. I'm just saying.
And we're talking about figures, right, with 24 zeros after the first digit. She laid out statistics that make
He ain't
it
leave no
unlikely,
beard. He ain't leave no nothing. He just shaved
if not
everything
close to
off.
impossible,
Don't trust a nigga with no mustache.
for these DNA matches to be from anybody but Celeste. Now the question is, you know, where is that DNA match actually coming from? Is it definitively coming from blood, or could it be something like skin? Because she spent time living in that house and touching items in the garage. That's what defense attorneys spent quite a bit of time today questioning, going back and forth with that one witness. If this does go to trial, I think we can expect a lot more of that, Chris.
And there's so many pieces of evidence, I feel like, Julia, as like this has gone on for the last couple of days, where from a circumstantial standpoint, it seems incredibly strong for the prosecution, but then you'll have David's defense attorneys come back and just nitpick every
never trust a
single
nigga with a
word
mustache,
of
bro.
what a witness
I'm telling you
said.
that as
as
a
far
man,
as some
as
of
a guy,
where
as a
DNA
dude.
was found, you know,
I'm
there were
trusting a nigga
blood
with no
stains in the
mustache.
Tesla, and
Follow me for
through
more
just
financial
kind of going
advice.
through some of these notes that there was a toenail that was Celeste, and then they were able to create a DNA profile on that. But then you get into these trash bags, I believe, that were found at David's house, right? And then there are these wipes in the trash bag, and like it does not get. To me, it came off just kind of going through this like it's muddied and it's not clear who is handling what inside the house. And there's even some DNA on there that may be from other people.
Bro.
We don't know. Like,
I
what
just
did you
want to
make
drop
of
an
kind of
elbow on his head.
all
Boom!
of those different layers to what seems like a really complicated part of the story that the prosecution's trying to tell?
When I first heard some of that DNA evidence from the LAPD witness when the prosecution was questioning her, I felt like it was incredibly compelling evidence. I mean, you can't question something with a statistical probability that's got 24 zeros behind the first digit, right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess if you are Blair Burke, you can question that.
Who tryna say I
And
got
she
no
raised a
mustache? Yeah,
couple
dude, what you talking about? I
hypotheticals
got a
about
beard, I
that
got a
compelling
little goatee.
DNA
Stop
evidence.
playing, bro.
She actually laid out a scenario about tertiary transfer, right? She told the court, what if I shook my co-counsel's hand and then I touched the podium and then the judge put her notebook down on the podium, right? Could my co-counsel's DNA then end up being transferred to that notebook?
Probably.
And the witness answered that on the stand. Yes, that's a possibility. So
That poor
gaps
girl, man.
like that
She
being
need an elbow dropped
created
on
by
her
the
head too. She was
defense
just
in
too
just
young.
about everything the prosecution is laying out, that I think is going to be a recurring theme for the rest of this
Tomorrow.
preliminary hearing, and certainly if it goes to trial. And any member of the jury listening to this, you know, it's going to come down to what they believe, who they believe, and how much doubt the defense can cast on all of this.
So now we are going back, and today's big because this is the testimony of the deputy medical examiner, Dr. Grant Ho. Let's talk about it.
Dr. Grant Ho.
Let me bring in our eyes
Hey,
and our
that's his
ears
name.
once again. Julia Deng, NBC LA reporter who has been fantastic throughout all of this. Good to see you again. There's a lot to get into here. There is a lot to get into when we talk about the deputy medical examiner's testimony. But before we even do that, we've always started by talking about David's demeanor in the courtroom. And the way that we've gone through it for the past several days, it's that he looks kind of bored. He looks like you described, the court reporter even said yesterday that he looks like he's on another plane, disengaged. Today, though, if I'm reading the notes that you sent over, a little bit different from David today, right?
A tiny bit, Jesse. He is a little bit more animated. He came in today, wearing the standard LA County jail uniform, that orange jumpsuit. He's got a shirt on underneath it. Hair is kind of grown out. He looks tired, unshaven.
He's definitely
but
tired.
he
Them demons
did
hiding
seem, a little
You can't
bit
get away with
more
that, boy.
animated. He sat down,
Them demons is
had a
haunting
conversation
him.
with one of his defense attorneys, and then started smiling and chit-chatting a little bit with her. That was different. But once testimony started up again,
That man
we
ain't
were
gonna see
hearing
the
from the
day
deputy
of
medical
light.
examiner, one of two people involved
Light.
in actually performing the autopsy on Celeste after her remains were found in David's Tesla. He went back to his usual, expressionless, emotionless, really motionless pose sitting at the counsel table. He's staring straight ahead, kind of just blinking at the witness on the stand, staring at the exhibits on that overhead monitor, and really not moving, not reacting.
And by the way, before we even
Not
get into the
little weirdo.
substance of the testimony, where I really think it's interesting what both this medical examiner had to say and what the defense has
Somebody
been
got to
saying.
break his jaw.
The
100 noodles on
photos
his
that were
head.
shown to the whole gallery, which you
I'm not
saw,
saying
your
I'm putting
reporting
them on it,
indicates
but just
there was
saying.
an audible reaction in the courtroom to those photos. Can you describe what you mean by that?
There was an audible reaction. There was a visceral reaction. And let me describe to you what happened, possibly by accident. Before we were actually shown the exhibits that we were supposed to see in the order that they were supposed to be presented, during this deputy medical examiner's testimony, the projector in the courtroom actually flipped through numerous autopsy photos before we were supposed to see that. So imagine, right, this overhead monitor, kind of like flipbook style, in a matter of seconds,
Oh,
going
that's
through
sick.
probably about half a dozen photos. And I'm talking autopsy photos, showing the victim's torso,
That's
open chest
sick.
cavity, extremities,
I don't
laid
even know if
out,
I can sit through
cleaned
something
off
like
and
that. I'd
laid
lose
out
my freaking
on
sanity,
a
no cap.
silver exam table. There was an audible gasp. A reporter sitting behind me in the courtroom, you could hear her reacting to this. You could see everybody reacting, I think, very viscerally. But Dr. Grant Ho, the witness on the stand right now, he's going through this methodically, step by step. For him, this is his day-to-day. This is just part of his job, and he's answering the questions that way. There's nothing emotional, nothing grisly or gruesome about any of this to him.
Makes you think about that job. I mean, my gosh.
Crazy.
Okay, so today's an important day. There has been so much about evidence about David's alleged illegal relationship
mustache again.
with Celeste. There's been a lot of evidence
No
and testimony
mustache again.
regarding the potential cleanup, the dismemberment. When it comes to the actual killing, when it comes to the actual alleged murder, this is what we were waiting for. What did Dr. Grant Ho say about the cause and manner of death of Celeste Rivas Hernandez?
It's so easy to become a podcaster with Riverside. First, go to Riverside.
No, some of
and
y'all need
open
to
an
turn that
account. When you're
podcast
ready to
equipment off.
record,
Like, for real.
There is a
Deactivate
lot of
that.
back and forth during this cross-examination now of Dr. Grant Ho, but he repeated findings from the medical examiner's office that have already been published. This was released months ago. We have reported on this, but he walked us through, with the support of visuals this time that we have not previously seen from the autopsy. He walked us through what they already found months ago. They decided the cause and manner of death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez was homicide, and they attributed her death to multiple penetrating injuries. Here's what's interesting, though. They did not identify what kind of weapon or tool caused those penetrating injuries. And they stopped short of actually calling it a penetrating injury caused by a sharp instrument. So they're not saying that she was definitely stabbed to death. And that's because of the advanced state of decomposition. They simply don't know for sure.
Y'all don't even understand. I'm fighting for my
exactly
life trying to
how
finish this.
or what
man,
caused a lot of what they found, which we are looking at right now in the courtroom, documented in these very, very visual exhibits.
Let me tell you why that's so significant. You know, but our audience should know. One of the special circumstance allegations in this case that has been presented by prosecutors is that David Anthony Burke personally used a deadly and dangerous weapon, a sharp instrument, to commit this crime. And yet what you're telling us is this deputy medical examiner can't definitively say that that's the case.
We don't know that for sure. And I think defense attorneys made a point of underscoring that several times. That is one of the elements of this first-degree felony murder charge that is interesting, that is different, right? And if he is convicted, there could be a sharp instrument enhancement. I believe in the state of California that could tack on an additional consecutive year. But those 3 additional special circumstances, that makes this murder case eligible for the death penalty. Here's what else the deputy medical examiner doesn't know for sure. And defense leaned really hard into all of this on cross. They don't know which penetrating injury occurred first. There's one on the victim's abdomen, and there's one on her lateral left chest. So one is associated possibly with liver damage, the other possibly with rib damage and diaphragm damage. Deputy Emmy can't say which one happened first. He can't say definitively whether or not they may have happened seconds apart. He cannot say which one caused her death. He cannot say how long it may have taken Celeste to die from either one of those injuries. There's so much we simply don't know.
Bro, what the fuck?
And that created a gap for one of the defense attorneys to ask something that we have not heard yet in this case. She asked this witness, this deputy medical examiner, if he could rule out that Celeste may have inflicted both of these stab wounds on her own. And he said, based on his findings in this autopsy, that was not something that he could definitively rule out. The reaction in the courtroom following that line of questioning, though, I turned around and I could see a couple people, glancing at each other, eyebrows raised. It looked and felt to me like people watching this line of questioning felt like it may have been bordering on the absurd. It may not be something a jury would believe.
Let's map that out for a second. So in other words, and this is based on what we saw this week from the defense, they are potentially building the argument, if this goes to trial, and correct me if I'm wrong.
If this go to trial,
that Celeste would have come over to his place.
He's trying to get less time or whatever.
Something happened.
Look, there go that no mustache again,
killed
bro.
herself or had an overdose.
Man.
David panicked and tried to get rid of her body.
Like, bro, your face is just as smooth as hers and theirs.
Is that something that you see the building blocks for, even though they've tried to, because remember, one of the most significant things I think the defense has been trying to do is saying, well, all these alleged purchases, the chainsaws, the laundry bags, the body bag, was all after she allegedly died. So it's not like he planned to kill her. Am I understanding that that's maybe the building blocks of where they may go as a potential defense?
Jesse, I don't know if that's where the defense is actively trying to go. I think this is their opportunity during this preliminary hearing to kind of test out different lines of questioning, right? See what sticks. See where the biggest openings might be for them to just create more gaps in the prosecution's case. I don't believe that line of questioning is going to go anywhere.
It's
But
not.
here's how they laid it out
He's a
this way.
weirdo.
Marilyn
Somebody should have
Vidnarski was
suplexed
the
him off
one
a balcony.
asking Dr. Grant Ho these questions. She
He's being
wanted to
real,
know
bro.
first, is it helpful? The injuries, right? The documented injuries, these penetrating wounds, the disruption to one of her ribs, the damage noted on her liver. And the defense wants to know, can you definitively link those observations that were made during the autopsy to what you see on the overlaying skin? And do you know exactly how that occurred? Are you able to definitively report that somebody else caused those injuries?
Ain't nobody
And
else caused them injuries.
I think the
'cause if
broad
it would've
answer
happened,
to
you
all
would've
of this
reported it.
is the advanced
Why you ain't
state
reporting that?
of
You knew your girlfriend was
decomposition
gone. Your girlfriend.
precludes
that's
a
even
lot
sick
of
just saying
definitive
that shit.
information. The
Oh, fuck
deputy
you.
ME simply
Ah!
cannot say how
Calm
this
down.
happened or who did this to
His
her.
girlfriend was a
I don't know if this is
13-year-old.
actually going to end up being a
They
building
need
block
to
for
beat
an
your
argument that
ass, I'm telling you,
Celeste
man.
killed herself,
Just being real.
but it's certainly a line of questioning
talking
that I
about,
think any
like,
sharp
humiliate.
defense attorney would explore
That's so
during this
sad, bro.
opportunity, during this preliminary hearing that we've been calling kind of a mini bench trial or a rehearsal for trial, if you will.
And I mean, if they're trying to muddy the waters in terms of how long had she been dead for, and they might be suggesting, can you definitively say she died on that night in April? What about this whole back and forth about a gunshot wound?
This was interesting too because this was new. And Dr. Ho just clarified on the stand before we broke for lunch that his way of saying anything could have happened to inflict what he'd observed on her ribs, damage to one of her left ribs, that could have come from anything. He cannot say with certainty that it came from a knife or another sharp instrument. And the reason, again, that they attributed her death to penetrating wounds as opposed to a sharp instrument is because they cannot rule out a possible gunshot wound with an exit wound in her body. They don't know for sure what killed Celeste.
It don't.
And
I'm not gonna say it don't matter.
there was
but
also
look,
discussion about
we just
the
know he did it.
chainsaws,
I don't know
right?
why he's
So,
trying to go to
in other
trial.
words, yesterday and the past few days, we know that
All that
chainsaws were
extra
collected.
stuff, man, you did
But
it.
as far as
Guilty.
we know,
Guilty
they
as-
tested negative for blood. There
You did that
seems to be one chainsaw that may be missing. In terms of a chainsaw potentially being used to inflict these injuries on Celeste, whether it was in the form of her cause of death, maybe to kill her or to dismember her, what was the discussion of chainsaws today?
So the witness was very careful to answer that line of questioning. He noted, I think, several times that he is not an expert when it comes to tools, power tools used to dismember bodies. He did offer up some general knowledge about what might lead to the types of cuts that
But
he
it's
noted
like,
on the
bro,
victim's body.
oh my
He
God.
described it as
And if anybody
clean
knew about
or
this,
smooth around the
y'all
edges.
need y'all ass whooped
That,
just
though,
as
I think
bad
is
as
going to
he
be called
do.
into question as well, because the appearance of all of these wounds, right? They
this'll
have
never sit
changed
right with me, bro.
post-mortem
Like, ever.
during decomposition. But he talked about how to cut through soft tissue or organs, you can do
Her
that with a
parents,
scalpel. He talked about
they
how
need to be
to cut through
whooped.
bone, you might
All
use
type
something
of
like
stuff,
a bone
man.
saw. And he said to cut through rib, you would need something essentially like hedge cutters. That's what he said on the stand. Still, he cannot definitively identify what was used to sever
It was
this
stab wounds
victim's
that probably
limbs from
definitely
her
killed her,
body.
bro.
And to be clear, the prosecution
Missing
hasn't laid
person.
out a specific murder weapon or what happened to a potential murder weapon.
God.
They have not yet. We do know 2 of the chainsaws found in David's garage during a search about a week after the Tesla was found with the victim's remains in the
Like,
front
he was so
trunk.
stupid he
We
couldn't
do
get rid
know
of his
those
chainsaws,
2
idiot.
chainsaws tested negative for
Oh,
blood.
Chad, y'all don't
What about the
understand
insect
this.
activity?
anytime I hear
That
about a
was
kid getting their my
another
player
detail
deleted,
that
it just
I
irritates
think
me. It
got
brings a
a
different type
visible
of. It
reaction in
brings
the
anger. I'm
courtroom
not gonna lie. It brings
this
anger.
morning.
I'm not
Dr.
gonna lie.
Ho
Kids, bro.
described the beginning
Kids
stages
don't ask to be here,
of
bro.
maggots
Parents
all around
failed
the
her.
victim's remains when he first got.
Chat. Her parents failed her. No cap. They need their ass whooped too. Excuse my language. I know I'm going on a crazy tangent. Chat. I'm not gonna lie. Like that broke my heart. I wasn't ready for that. Look, got my camera messed up. I wasn't ready for that, chat. I wasn't ready for that. Dude, really? A kid? A kid, bro. I think it's one thing I'll never get desensitized to, and that's children they getting deleted. I'll never get desensitized to that. Like that's always a bad thing. Like anybody getting deleted, that's a good person at least. But kids, bro, she was 13, man. She didn't even hit high school yet. 13. I was in what, like 8th grade. She didn't even get to hit. She didn't even get to hit it. I don't even want to continue talking about it because the more I talk about it, the more mad I get, chat. I mean, it's just a sad story all around. But chat, we're gonna get into something next, right? So I've been seeing lately on the content world that my brother, Your True Captain. If you don't know about Your True Captain, y'all go check out Brody's channel, right? So he's the type of streamer. I'm not gonna say he even rage baits people. Like he literally just, he's on this Omegle site or the online where you meet people or whatever. He's on there where he just goes up with people, right? And so what's going around is basically they're saying that since some dude hopped on his live, and I'm gonna show it because I have to address this. Some dude hopped on his live being racist. I guess earlier in the month, mind you, the video got released later. He deleted himself earlier in the month of August 2025. It's all public at. Y'all can go look this up yourself. I don't know Brett's name, but I'm gonna show you the clip, right? And I'm gonna say this right now. You're True Captain, bro. You're not wrong in anything you did. You're actually being more humble than anybody. You better than me. I say that. Cause even he's willing to talk to the family to get the video taken down. Right? But the internet's forever. I mean, that's gonna be it forever. And this is the thing. This is the thing that I want to address about that. The same, he's probably this. I'm gonna get into it, Chad. We just gonna get into the video, man. I'm not gonna say too much. We gonna get into the video. I gotta defend my brothers when they defend us. He defending us. Why can't I defend my brother back? I gotta defend my brother back. So this is the video right here.
Glorify that, but instead communicate condemn those who choose to behave this way. Here at Your True Captain
So,
Incorporated,
chat,
we
mind
take strongly
you,
to this
there's
idea
gonna
and
be some
principle. Thank you for
racism
your
in here,
understanding.
bro.
Because you're black. Because you're a Kool-Aid. You got a fucking problem with that, bitch?
Flag on the play. Listen to me, man. I wouldn't want to have to take this to stage 2. You understand? Let's just apologize and forget all this happened, okay? Think about your family, dude.
Luckily, they don't listen to black.
Now, y'all see that, right? Right there, he gave this Minecraft warrior, World of Warcraft warrior, a warning, bro. He said, hey, cool out before it get bad. And this the thing, like, bro, once you do this type of stuff, you gotta understand, y'all trying to be cool or whatever, this stuff come with consequences. Freedom of speech don't relieve you of freedom of consequence. And to the people that defend the word or whatever, y'all gotta know freedom of consequence don't free you of the consequences, if that makes sense. So if you punch somebody out for saying the N-word in public, you really might go to jail for that, But my camera fell. But let's keep the video
Black
going.
people, so.
Really? So the household that
Reads out his location.
actively discriminates?
And chat, this is why you gotta watch who you play with. You just never know who you playing with. You might be playing with the president, and you don't even know that was finna be the president in 12 years. You feel me? You gotta stop playing with these people, bro. But this whole addy out.
No. It's kind of messed up, though, don't you think? I mean, I get it. If this was 1927, I just have to sit there and take that. You know what I'm saying? But this is big 2025, dawg. Now that I think about it, chat, is there a reason why he looks like the guy from the Big Bang Theory? Or, like, what's going on?
The dude from the Big Bang Theory. Chat, somebody pull that up. Who is he talking about? If I clip this off and put him right here.
I heard some random person on Twitter put a bounty on me for...
See, now look. 10K for anyone that gets me on that one N-word kid that makes those Amigo chat room videos. Boy needs to be taught a lesson. Incest warrior. I love my sister. I'm not surprised. That name and that threat, it all lines up. And that loser Confederate flag picture, it all lines up.
$10,000. And honestly, I'm a little bit disappointed. I should be at $250,000 by now. You know how much destruction and devastation I brought to the hate crime community with these videos? I've decimated more than half their call.
Now, chat, I think that was the clip, but I think that was. Oh wait. No, we'll get to the full. Hold on, we're gonna get to the full of it. That was actually just that was just the tip of the iceberg. Pause. So now we're gonna go to the full shot.
You, just you,
full react.
building your app on base 44. Describe it.
Victim had to learn the hard way, and by hard way, I
Y'all,
mean
this
literally
is
looked
a
like he
trigger
was about to
warning.
throw up. Take it easy on yourself.
Racism
Pay your
coming in
taxes.
this
I be
next
Betty
few
White.
minutes.
Free
So
Palestine.
Because
y'all
you're
get yourselves ready.
Because you're a Kool-Aid. You got a fucking problem with that, bitch?
Flag on the play. Listen to me, man. I wouldn't want to have to take this to stage 2. You understand? Let's just apologize and forget all this happened, okay? Think about your family, dude.
Luckily, they don't listen to black people, so...
Really? So the household that openly discriminates? That's good to know. It's kind of messed up, though, don't you think? I mean, I get it. If this was 1927, I just have to sit there and take that. You know what I'm saying? But this is big 2025, dawg. Now that I think about it, chat, is there a reason why he looks like the guy from the Big Bang Theory? Or, like, what's going on?
Hush mode activated.
You hear that? Hush mode has not been activated. You are now on hush mode. This is my favorite part of the show, because now I get to slowly dissect you like a science experiment. I'm just wondering, there's so many cars to choose from. Why a Toyota RAV4 though?
Get your fucking lore right.
Lore? What the I literally have your driveway pulled up on Google Maps right
Got
now.
Got his driveway on Google Maps. Look at his face, sick to his stomach. Now he knew them goons was coming. Them goons. Come on.
This is not you? You're telling me this is not you? This is not where you're at currently right now? Shit! How you gonna be talking shit? You live in this busted up mess.
What did I just...
See, now you just stuttering like a victim. Could somebody in the chat give this guy a Snickers bar, please?
Come on.
He's probably an actor. There's no way this is real. This is fake. I want you to look at this man's face, chat. You couldn't pay Brad Pitt $1 billion to pull off this performance, dog. Look at this nigga's face. He is terrified. Listen, you had a fuck around, find out moment. Okay, it's fine. It happens. Next time you better, all right? Plays back in session.
It's saying that like you think it's funny.
It's fine, chat. It's fine. He's just gonna go lock the door. He'll be back. Sometimes you got no...
So, chat, if you guys don't know, I guess it's to be reported that guy deleted himself, right? I believe I have it. I can pull it up, I guess. And you know, my guy, your true captain, he's trying to clear his name right now. And my guy is innocent. Now, this is the thing, chat. These are the same people that come in here and tell us how to react to just words, right? You know, they come in and say the N-word, and we just supposed to, you know, to react how they tell us. You know, don't react to the word. And you know what? I semi-agree with that, right? I semi-agree. And there's a reason why I semi-agree, right? But They tell you it's just words. So your words that was just words wasn't just words. You had to delete yourself over it. And like I said, your true captain, he's a lot more, what's the word called? He's showing a lot more grits than I ever would. Even to the family, because the family, say with the wife, you know who you married. You know exactly what he was about. So these guys, they find that shit funny, I guess. Until it's not a joke. You know? They gotta know this type of stuff come with consequences. There's certain people that feel a certain way. Like I said, all in all, to my boy, your true captain, it's not your fault. Don't feel no guilt going forward or whatever. It ain't your fault. Nobody told him to go up and say that dumb Alright? He committed self-deletion. Hey, oh well. Not like that, but like, oh well. Because it didn't have to be this way, you know? But next, man, we got that Nolan Wells case coming up. Let's get into it. So we got the audio of Nolan Wells. They say they got some updated audio or whatever. I haven't been sharking on the case like I have before, but we'll just see what we see getting into it. Oh wait, no, that's not it. That ain't it.
Is there a person, a living individual on the boat?
Yes, there's lots of people breathing on the boat.
A new audio recording from the Nolan Wells case captures the chaos on the water the day the 18-year-old disappeared off Mississippi's Horn Island. And now we're hearing the frantic distress call. The United Cajun Navy is also firing back at attorney Ben Crump over a major claim. And also there is this decision by prosecutors to keep a key piece of evidence under wraps for now that is telling a lot about where this investigation may go. I'm going to break down every new development in this story. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Okay, we're back with a lot more that has happened since we last updated you on the case of Nolan Wells. I think the last time we updated you was when the results of that independent autopsy were released, which, by the way, came out. They couldn't rule out foul play, so it leaves Nolan's family still demanding answers. There's still, of course, the state medical examination and the toxicology reports and what will come of that. But now what do we have? We have new audio that has been released by the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, and it is giving us a glimpse into some of the chaos that was occurring on the water on that fateful July 4th day. One of the first pieces of audio that we're hearing from that day captures what appears to be the frantic moments as a boat that Nolan had potentially been on that day that was connected to this group began taking on water. And we've got the full call. We're going to unpack it for you. But first, just listen to this.
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can y'all please come?
Yes. How far is the water coming up, sir?
It's coming up. We're just sinking. I don't know. Like we're going down now.
So that's what I've been talking about. That is the sound.
You don't know how far the water coming up?
As the boat was
you couldn't even give
water.
like a baseline. Like, hey, it's just all up in the boat. He said, I don't know.
Nolan Wells? Where was Nolan Wells when that was happening? Was he on the boat? Was he?
Look, y'all want to know the Nolan Wells problem right there? The Nolan Wells problem is right there. Chat, I'm not against interracial relationships, but what Dr. Umar say? Anyways, chat, y'all see them two silhouettes on the outside of him? I think I used the word right. That was the problem. That was the main his main problem.
It's one of the many gaps that we're still.
He was in the milk of magnesia, bro.
And what we're hearing is
that looked like more milk of magnesia, but I could be wrong.
Just one piece of this.
Nah, that's milk of magnesia.
Nolan's friends are talking now. We're going to tell you what they said in these interviews. The United Cajun Navy, that was part of the search efforts for Nolan, they are firing back at attorney Ben Crump, who's representing Nolan Wells' family right now.
Ben Clown. That's what I call him. He's a clown, bro.
And making a shocking claim about what they've actually.
Hey, no, for real. Nolan Wells, he fell victim to the white women, bro.
The DA, the district
like no
attorney,
racist
is
stuff.
planning a move.
Look. More milk of magnesia, bro. Like, Nolan, you tripping, gang. Where was your dad at, bro? I hope your dad ain't a tether, bro.
That's going to change.
I ain't gonna lie, he failed you if he ain't.
So a lot is happening. I want to get into it all. But first, let me
Africans,
just
they
make
oblivious
sure
to
everybody's
stuff like
on the
that.
same
But
page with this. If
if your dad African American, he should have knew.
So we're talking about 18-year-old Nolan Wells. He was from Ocean Spring, Mississippi. He was a college student.
Have you ever wanted to see your home from
I'm
space?
telling you, that was
With
Nolan's
this
problem,
free
bro.
satellite
He was
Earth
taking
Maps
up all the
tool,
white
you can
women.
zoom right
You
down
know
to
they
your
don't like
exact
that.
address
Hey,
in
chat,
just
look.
seconds.
If I'm lying, I'm flying, I'm dying, and I'm trying. Chat, if you look, I'm gonna be real, chat. There's only 2 racist people in this world. Y'all know who it is? Chat, there's only 2 racist people in this world. It's a white woman. I mean, a white man and a black woman, bro. And look, y'all might be like, whoa, what you mean by that? Listen. Take a Nolan Wells and put him and unblur them pictures, post it online, and see how the comments react. That's all I gotta say.
Player.
I
On
ain't
the
gotta
4th
say
of
no more.
July, he went with a group of friends to Horn Island. It's a barrier island off the Mississippi coast. It's
Chat, look at that shit. Now look, and this is what I'm saying. This is why I know Nolan Wells' parents they failed that man, that little boy. Chat, I don't even play in the water. When my team went to San Diego 2016 and whatever, we went to travel, and they was in the beach. Everybody was swimming in the water. You know what my black ass did? Right along with my tall black ass friend Caleb. We stayed in that water ankle deep, and when the little shorts kept coming, hit the feet on land.
really
Ain't playing
isolated.
in
There's
no
no like
water.
commercial
Oh,
developments or
what?
anything like that. Going there to celebrate. At some point, he disappeared. He was reported missing that night. A massive search was launched. And then 2 days later, on July 6th, his body was found on the island. But what happened to him? That remains the
They
central
allegedly
question.
off
That
him.
remains a question.
Somebody offed him.
that nobody, at least publicly, can seem to answer or has answered. The results of the family's independent autopsy listed Nolan's cause and manner of death as undetermined. And remember, the family seemingly being distrustful of law enforcement or suspicious or maybe critical.
I
of
wouldn't
that.
trust them
The
either.
first
They probably in
impressions of
on
what
it
happened
too.
to Nolan were there were no signs of foul play. This seemed to be accidental drowning. They seemed to want more answers or a second opinion, so they hired Ben Crump. They ordered an independent
Ben
autopsy.
Clown.
And this pathologist
He
found
been a
that
clown.
pieces
Him and what's
of
that old
Nolan's
dude
body,
name?
we're talking portions
Clown,
of his
bro.
neck, throat, had been removed by the state medical examiner.
His neck and
Because
throat
the
had
state
been
medical examiner
removed
did
by the
first
state
autopsy.
examiner
Again,
because the state examiner did the first autopsy. Chat. I literally got into it with some idiots in the comment section. They're saying, oh, they didn't take it. This is why you can't argue with everybody in the comments. They are not there, man.
We don't have the results. So it'd been removed by the state medical examiner before this second autopsy could be done. So this second pathologist couldn't determine whether there was in fact injury or trauma to the neck. And that leaves many questions still on the table. It raises a question, if the state ME is doing further testing of those components, can the state ME definitively conclude there was trauma, that this was drowning accidental or not?
Drowning?
Maybe it's tough to say if it's accidental or not, given those watery conditions. And then there's that
So,
red discoloration in the back of the head.
My thing is, like, if it was a drowning, aren't they able to tell in the autopsy, like, yeah, his water was filled with lungs? I could have sworn, like, anytime they ever came back with a autopsy that quick, they knew the reason. Also, too, this is why I didn't put organ donor on my license. Like, why did they take his throat? Pause. I know this ain't that type of moment right now, but, like, on the real, like, why'd they take his throat? Pause.
Which we talked about
Like,
last
that's
time.
odd.
According to medical experts I spoke to, it could be from decomposition. It could be a
Tell you,
blunt
y'all better
injury
take that-
before
that-
death.
that organ
When I
donor
spoke
off
with
your
Dr.
ID.
Ada Rutherford, she said
For they
that
take you
the
out
body
quicker than
doesn't
what they
bruise
need.
like that after death. But let's start unpacking now what we're now learning. What's new? So the Mississippi Department of Resources released a recording of a distress call made on July 4th from a boat near Horn Island, which we believe Nolan was on at some point during that day. We don't know for sure who made this call, but it does offer us a look into what was unfolding out there on the water that day, including the boat sinking, the kids
This is Mississippi
panicking.
we talking about,
And
not
again,
Mississippi.
where is
Look, y'all saying this is Mississippi we talking about, and I'm gonna stop pausing the chat. Y'all gotta understand, Mississippi, the South ain't even the worst where the racism get. Go up north and west north, like Montana, Illinois.
Now, before I play this
Washington,
audio,
Oregon.
just something to keep in
Go up
mind.
there, you're gonna see real racism.
I first saw this
promise
from
you.
TMZ, Charles Labotier, basically said that there's a conversation happening online that in this audio, in the background, you can possibly, arguably hear, is he dead? Nolan, oh my God. Very difficult to make out. I leave it to you Let me just play this. I don't know if it's going to be part of a
This is
conversation,
my thing.
but
No, they talking
there you
about.
go.
Detail assistance, Vicky speaking. How can I help you? And is everybody on board in good health otherwise?
Yeah, everybody's
How
on
many?
board.
All right. Do you need the United States Coast Guard?
What?
Do you need the United States Coast Guard?
No, we do not need that.
All right. All right. Do you have your current GPS coordinates?
Let me go look. 4672. Okay, my coordinates are 30 degrees by 14.684 north, and then west by 88 degrees by 46.79.
Wait,
All
whoa,
right.
you called the people, but you don't need help? 7 ain't adding up. And look, if this was my brother, I ain't. You know what? Let's continue.
How many adults and children on board?
No, there's no children.
So, is there anybody on board? How many adults, sir? That was the question.
Gotta jump in and pull the plug while you're going.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yep, I just need you to answer these questions so I can get you over to the captain.
Okay.
How many
what's
adults
going
on board?
So, there's 0 adults on board.
There's nobody on board the boat?
No. Nobody
right.
here is over the age of 21.
Sir, that was not the question. Is there a person? Is there a person, a living individual on the boat?
Yes, there's lots of people breathing on the boat.
All right, how many people, sir?
Like 7.
The dispatcher then transfers the call to a captain.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I just actually got off the phone with his grandpa, who I'm guessing is the owner of the boat. And he said,
okay.
I just hung up with him. He said that they don't need any help right now, but if something changes, he'll call me back. So I'm guessing that they may have figured it out, because that's what he said. So they're in a panic and their boat won't crank.
Now, as I said before, we don't exactly know where Nolan was at this point. But according to reporting from WLOX, this distress call was made around 4 p.m. And according to the Jackson County Sheriff's Office and other accounts that we've heard, Nolan was apparently last seen around 3 p.m. So it places this call at just about an hour
They was probably trying
after
to get up out of
somebody
there.
would have last had eyes on him. But I want to talk about
They found him 2
what
days later. It's
happened
crazy.
since that press conference. Because if you watched our previous episode, you might remember that we talked about this moment, this big detail that attorney Ben Crump shared about how Nolan was found.
The United Cajun Navy are so forthcoming. The fact that they told us, we haven't heard from any of their local officials, that Nolan was found face down, fully clothed. Well, that's significant to us because the last time we saw him on the videos, he was without a shirt. So at what point did he put on a shirt? Somebody saw something. Somebody knows something. There were almost 300, 400 people. Somebody knows something.
Major moment, because if it's connected to it, if you remember that piece of video that surfaced just days before the press conference, right? This video, which TMZ obtained and published, was recorded on July 4th at 2:23 p.m., so a little under 40 minutes before Nolan was last seen, appears to show an individual, a man. There's an argument that that could be Nolan wearing blue swim trunks and shirtless. And we remember there was a photo of Nolan Wells that had been circulated from that day wearing those trunks with his friends. So Crump was raising the question of whether anyone saw anything in between when he was without a shirt, like here, if this is him, and allegedly when he claims he was later fully clothed. Here's the problem. The problem is that the United Cajun Navy says they never told Crump he was fully clothed. And they are firing back at his initial claim. They're now coming for him. On July 26th, they wrote...
Like, Ben Crump, bro. Like, you a clown. You and Al, Rev, Sharpton are clowns, bro. Like, y'all don't even represent for real. I'm going to be real. I got to be real. Like, bro, my thing is, like, man.
On X, did Attorney Crump lie about UCN? Yes. He said UCN told us Nolan was fully clothed.
But I'm not just taking
Not
their word.
true.
Like,
We have never spoken with Crump, and we
They're not taking
certainly
this shit serious.
didn't tell the parents anything like that. Now, here's where it gets a little confusing, because this fully clothed claim doesn't actually originate with Ben Crump. No, the president of the United Cajun Navy, Todd Terrell, was on a July 20th episode of Crime Stories with Nancy Grace and said yes to a question about Nolan being fully clothed. But Terrell
He's right about
seemingly
that. I
later
apologize,
corrected himself,
baby
saying
clown.
Nolan
baby
was
clown.
clothed, meaning he wasn't naked. He was wearing swim trunks, and that, yes, he should have been clearer. So the Cajun Navy mentioned that in this X post, writing, quote, did the UCN president get taken out of context during an interview? Yes. His definition of fully clothed meant not being naked, wearing swim trunks. It doesn't matter what anybody else thought it meant. It only matters what Todd meant because he said it. The bottom line is that Nolan was wearing only swim trunks when found. That's a fact that can't be refuted. This is a manufactured distraction to divert attention from this press conference blunder. So that's the dispute with the United Cajun Navy. But now I want to talk about the key figures in this case who are now speaking out. Nolan's purported friends. They sat down for lengthy interviews with conservative commentator Brandon Tatum on the Officer Tatum Show. What they're saying is adding even more layers to all of this. So, for example, first up, Trayston Shepard, described as one of Nolan's best friends. However, there's been some commentary that Nolan's family has maybe publicly disputed this. But here's what he spoke about with Officer Tatum. So he spoke about the moment that he learned that Nolan's body had been found, saying, quote, I was putting fuel in our boat at 6. I got told that they were taking out another boat to Chandelier at 7. So I put my boat back on the lift and I went to McDonald's. And then I got the news after I left McDonald's that his body was found. He says he had nothing to do with Nolan's death and that he has been living with guilt ever since, saying, quote, I beat myself up every night I lay down. Beat myself up anytime it crosses my mind, because in my head, if I wasn't drinking, if I didn't get into that altercation, apparently there was an altercation that day, not involving Nolan, but involving him, maybe I would be able to do something. Maybe I would have told Nolan, hey man, you're not going with that girl, just come back with us. Maybe it just plays out different. So yes, he's talking about this altercation that he says happened on the island, this apparent fight with a stranger that got so intense that he claims his uncle made him get back on the boat and leave. And regarding the girl comment, that's interesting because this is what he says was the last thing he told Nolan that day. Quote, all right, buddy, I love you. See you later. I'm glad I said it. I had been under the influence a little bit, and that's probably why I did say it at the time. Just, getting all lovey-dovey. But I'm at peace. I said it. Another friend, Warren Hudson, also spoke out, was interviewed, talked about the phone, the keys, the night everything unraveled. According to Hudson, they were in an emergency situation. They needed to leave quickly, which is why they wanted to get Nolan on board. And he said, quote, Nolan, get the F on the boat. Get on the boat. And Nolan said, no, I'm staying out here.
Yo, this is exactly why you don't take the first offer after a car accident.
So-
Insurance companies will hit you with some
The
low
reason I
offer
say it
like
don't make
7
sense
grand,
because if
9
they
grand,
would
maybe
leave
17
his phone,
grand,
why
and make
would
it sound
you
like
say,
they're
no,
helping
I'm
you. But
staying
let's
here?
be real, they're not trying to help you.
Anybody leave
They're-
with my phone, I'm gonna just say, hey, throw me my phone. I'm gonna catch it with y'all.
Now, this whole back and forth about whether Nolan stayed on
That's
the
what I'm saying. It
island
just
to
don't
talk
even add
to a
up.
girl.
I'm not leaving
Nolan's
nowhere without my
family
phone,
has
especially
indicated
the
from the very
island.
beginning it would be very unlikely
ain't no
to
civilization
leave
around
his
that
friends.
bitch.
And this is of
And the
note
only
too.
way to
According to
get back
People,
is a boat.
Nolan's
I
mom,
wouldn't leave
Christine
my phone with
Wonsley,
y'all.
said in a prior interview with the Griot, this is weeks back.
And his mom, I'm not gonna lie, she don't look black to me. She look like she Asian or something. And the reason I'm bringing up that type of stuff is because, bro, foreigners, they don't really understand the black American experience. They think they do from like the media and stuff. They don't understand how corrupt this shit can get in America, bro. Especially if your skin is dark.
That this young lady that Nolan
bad,
was
man.
apparently
It's gonna be
talking
bad,
to
man.
contacted her.
It might
She
be
said in
bad.
the interview, quote, she did reach out to me initially just saying basically like it was a hey and bye type situation. So it's not entirely clear, did he follow this girl? How long were they together? How long were they talking? And look, one of the biggest outliers in all of this, why people have a lot of questions is no matter what happened to Nolan, no one saw anything? No one saw him drowning, if that's the case? Now, look, we don't know exactly what's being told to law enforcement, what's being told to Ben Crump and his team, but that's a big question. So here's where the phone comes in, okay? So Nolan's family has raised concerns about content being deleted. And remember, the phone was left behind on the boat, apparently. The family has indicated they used a
Bro, I'm not
Life
leaving nowhere
360
without my
app
phone,
to
bro.
locate Nolan's phone, and they got custody of it from his friends. But they also said,
See, like, look, his dad looked like a tether. I'm sorry. Could be wrong. His dad looked like a tether, bro.
that they
And they
found it
don't know too
strange
much
that
about
he
the
would
history
leave
of, like,
the phone
Mississippi,
behind if he
Florida,
was
and stuff. They
planning
don't
to
know
stay on
about
the
that type
island.
of shit.
But Hudson said this, quote, there was no reason for us to get on Nolan's phone. No one touched Nolan's phone. No one even was in contact with his phone until it was moved from the boat to the truck.
Yeah, how does
and none
stuff
of
get
us have
deleted?
access
The
to
dad
Nolan's
deleted
password to
himself?
get on his phone and delete anything. We had no reason to delete
Undertaker.
anything. There's nothing to hide here. And there's been a conversation about maybe he wouldn't take his phone because you're entering at the saltwater. Maybe that's common when you're boating. Now, Hudson also clarified the timeline because the last time he claims he saw Nolan was around 3 p.m. on July 4th. And he claims he saw Nolan in the water with a girl. Said, quote, I looked at Nolan and Nolan was like shaking his head, laughing. And I was like, dude, you crazy. Now, both Shepard and Hudson denied having anything to do with Nolan's death, okay? But now I want to talk about another update, major update that's impacting the investigation itself. Just last week, DA, the district attorney, Angel Myers Nicarath, made an announcement confirming the state's official autopsy report. It's being weighed.
Yeah, and she
It
need to
won't
be
be released to
investigated
the
too.
public until a grand jury
I'ma tell y'all
reviews
the real
it. That's
secret after
significant.
this.
Grand jury being impaneled to determine if
I'm gonna
criminal
let y'all know
charges
the
are
real
warranted.
secret after this.
And the DA made this clear when speaking with WLOX, saying, quote, every death in the county, except those of natural causes and non-criminal car wrecks, is presented to your grand jury. Many people don't know that we have handled death investigations in this manner my entire career. She also said her office is handling the investigation the same way as all others, telling WLOX the pressure for answers does not change what the work requires. Our responsibility to Nolan and our
Yeah, but
community is to
history
complete
shows
this
that y'all
investigation
ain't been
thoroughly
right
and
this whole
carefully
time,
without
so.
compromise, supported by the evidence and worthy of the confidence of the people we serve. Our restraint in communicating facts and evidence is not an effort to keep the truth from the public. It is an effort to protect the integrity of this investigation and the grand jury proceeding. And that would make sense because if you have information out there, will it affect other witnesses' accounts, witness testimony? Could they change the narrative at all? Could it affect potential grand jurors being impaneled? You want to keep everything as buttoned up as possible while this is an ongoing investigation. Now, she also addressed the flood of misinformation that has been swirling online, saying, quote, if we sacrifice the integrity of the process in an effort to satisfy today's questions, we risk undermining confidence in tomorrow's answers.
Man, this is all
Here's the thing.
manipulation tactics to...
DA says this is standard procedure.
ain't no
Nolan's
standard
family has been
procedure.
frustrated
This
by the
was
lack of transparency.
Dylan instead of Nolan.
They've called on
This
local
would have been
officials
solved
to be
10
more
days ago.
forthcoming. They've made it clear they don't
Being
trust
real.
that the investigation is being handled maybe properly. And as for when that grand jury will convene, the DA hasn't said. So for now, we're waiting to see what happens next. We've been on top of this from the very beginning. We will continue to stay on top of it to see that this family gets the answers that they need.
Man, look. Y'all want my real honest answer, chat? I'm gonna get my real honest answer. For real. And when I do this, like, I'm not even trying to be funny. I'm not trying to be a jokester. Y'all want my real theory? And this is all allegedly is speculation, so they lawyered up this shit. Don't try to come for me because this is all my theory, all right? This don't mean it's true. All right, chat, but this is what I think. There's like two ways this could have went. That girl that he was with, if he was with a shorty, she probably slipped something in his drink. Allegedly, probably speculation, like I said. She probably slipped something in his drink and he just probably couldn't get right. He probably, you feel me? I don't know, choked up all type of stuff. Dropped it, I don't know. Dropped some fent in his drink or whatever. Alright? That's my first theory. The second theory is the one that I really believe. Chat. I believe they Royal Rumbled him off the boat. Now, Chat, y'all looking like, Shan, what you talking about Royal Rumble? Anybody that ever watched wrestling, watched the Royal Rumble, and you seen two dudes trying to throw a dude over the top rope, and they pushing him off the rope. Go look at a Royal Rumble, two-man Royal Rumble, whatever. They pushing him over the rope, and they trying to, it's two people pushing them off. You can't, what? When you sitting on something trying to hold on? Two people, that's enough to get you off. I think they Royal Rumbled him off the boat. They threw him over the top rope. Not even trying to be funny, like on some real shit. I think they threw him over the thing, and they said, hey, get off the boat. And this is what I say, too. He was probably so drunk and discombobulated. He an 18-year-old. And he looked like, not trying to like be disrespectful, he looked like a nerd. He don't look like he be sipping and drinking all like that. Especially like if he out with his nigga friends. He like, he just do that with his white friends, right? I feel like he was probably so drunk, so discombobulated that they tossed that over the top rope onto the water. And they said he could swim, but if you drunk, I'm not gonna lie, you're not gonna swim the best quality. Like, you're drunk, bro. That's what I think, right? But ultimately, and I'm gonna say this too. Let me put a disclaimer on this too, because y'all be acting weird. I'm not trying to entice no riots. I'm not trying to entice no violence or nothing, right? This is my thing. Everybody crying and complaining about Nolan Wells. Well, let's address this to the front first. It's hella Nolan Wells type cases all of a sudden coming out, right? Like I said, y'all gotta go watch that dude, Robert Taylor House Publishing. Great YouTuber. He brings light to a lot of things. I think he can be extreme at times. However, he does bring light to a lot of the stuff that's going on. But we see a lot of these Nolan Wells cases coming out. I could have been a Nolan Wells. I told y'all about the time I got kidnapped in Oregon. Almost. I almost got kidnapped. My feet, feel me, got me up out of there. And I talked to the school president, everything. But that's another story, another time. I'll get into that if y'all want to hear that. All in all, I think that, and I'm tying this back to my point, right? Like I said, I'm not enticing no violence, no nothing. Right? But let me say this. They could play in our face because we allow them to. All we do is comment on Instagram, protest, and all that, and they laugh at us, bro. I'm going to put it like this. Until there are more Rodney Hitton Juniors, right? Like I said, I'm not enticing nobody. I'm telling you the real. Until there are more Rodney Hitton Juniors, they not going to get the message, bro. They not going to get the message. And be real, like, when you look back at the history or whatever, ain't nobody slid for nobody. Nobody slid for nobody, right? And I say this too. In the black community, it's like this. Nah, that's facts. Until we get more Rodney Hitton Juniors, you know, eye for eye type shit, they not going. And I guarantee you, if that type of shit starts happening, they gonna change the rules. I guarantee you, it happens every time. Look at the Black Panthers. They organize their own gun association. They gonna dismantle it, saying that they extremists. You know what I'm saying? So whenever y'all trying to get right within whatever, you know, they gonna try to shut that down. And I ain't even gonna lie, I'm not gonna get too deep into this, but y'all just seen the IDF. Y'all all sleep, y'all worried about Love Island and shit. Y'all didn't just see the IDF click up with the US military. Y'all know what that mean? Man, y'all better do y'all motherfucking research. For real. Y'all see how they doing them kids out there, bro? I ain't gonna dig too deep into that now. But y'all see what's going on, right? And that's what I can say about this. Like, bro, until there's more people that think eye for eye, this shit gonna keep going on. All we're gonna do is complain and talk about it on social medias. Comment, oh, he deserves justice. Man, what that do? That's why I said, if something ever happened to me, I already know. Ain't nobody ready to slide. Ain't nobody slid for Bobby Hutchinson, whatever his name is. Or not whatever his name is. Ain't nobody slid for Malcolm X. Ain't nobody slid for Trayvon. Ain't nobody slid for, you feel me? You feel me? The list goes on. But they slid on us for that type of stuff. Like I said, until... And this is the thing, too. The people... This is how the black community works, right? The people that are commenting and stuff, they're not courageous enough to go out there and go get war ready. You know what I'm saying? And then the niggas that are killing each other, like the black on black violence or whatever, they're too ignorant to realize who the real enemy is. You know what I'm saying? So they gonna kill each other. They brainwashed already. It's over. So I mean that's just one of the bigger disconnects, and it's all unfortunate. I mean, Nolan, man. I mean, and this is my thing too. You can't necessarily sit up here and say, oh, I can't have white friends or whatever. It's just certain things you might not be able to do with your white friends. You get what I'm saying? Like, for example, I might not be able to go hunting with my white friends. Looking at all this, I might not be able to go hunting with my white friends. I might not be able to go fishing with my white friends, right? But that don't mean that the wholeness is just on my white friends. It's like, for example, I'm never going to shoot dice with my nigga friends, bro. Look at Takeoff. I would never. I already know how that's going to go, a dice game. I didn't seen it too many times with my own eyes. You know what I'm saying? So it's just certain stuff you can't do with certain people with their certain ways. You know what I'm saying? You can't necessarily just say, oh, all white people are this or that. But, you know, obviously you want to be aware of your surroundings. You know, it's all unfortunate. R.I.P. Nolan Wells, man. I hope you get the justice you deserve. You didn't seem like a bad kid, bro. You didn't seem like a bad kid, bro. Not at all. Now, chat. Chat, we got like 2 more reactions and we're gonna cut it. But right now, R.P. Nolan, man. Yeah. Like I said, y'all, until niggas ready to get on that dumb shit, it sucks to say this, and y'all need to go help the mom out too. They ruining her business, and all she wanted some answers. Y'all mad at the mother. Her son died, bro. But you know you can't. And like I said, I'm not putting all the onus on all white people, obviously, but them type of people. So when I'm speaking to them type of people, and them type of people know who I'm talking about. Them people, man, it's horrible. We need to go run up her business and say it's good. We don't got enough brothers and sisters doing that. But this is my thing too, and I'm gonna leave it at this. Their parents was quick to say it's not a race thing, but now they're getting their welcome to America nigga moment. This shit was about, you know, it was about everything. Come on, bro. Come on. And that's why I think that they parents is foreigners. Like, they can't be American people. Cause that's why you have to separate Black Americans from Africans and Jamaicans and fucking Haitians, cause they don't understand the history of this shit. Shit, even some Black Americans don't understand the history of this. But the history go deeper than what a lot of people may think. A lot of people brainwashed, bro. So, you know, R.P. Nolan, man. I hope you feel me? I hope they get right for you, dude. For real. That shit fucked up. All right, chat, come on. So we got this next reaction of, man, how a suspect's death led.
In policing, responding to a disturbance or theft call at a convenience store is very common. It's almost a daily occurrence. However, rarely does it escalate to a point where a person is accused of stealing a beer. The officer gets into a scuffle with the suspect with another officer there. One officer loses their taser, and then one officer discharges their firearm into the back of the head of the suspect. This is one of those.
9131, have a great night. Break it from 9 to log down next to boy George Nora Zebra 27.
I can already tell you by looking at this officer, the way that he just did this, that he's extraordinarily tactical. I see that he called out the plate of the vehicle, location, and as if you can look here, how he canted his wheel to the side. That protects you and gives you a little bit of cover, and if your car gets hit from behind. Textbook process.
Okay,
yeah.
Are you a Roblox fanatic? Microsoft Rewards has a brand new way for you to earn digital gift cards from Roblox.
Go back later on the camera and listen to what your license plate is. Or I can
just sign.
Look at
What's
the
the
camera.
deal with the people inside?
Cameras running like
With a beer in your hand? Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Look at your camera. You said I'm going to check the camera. I said check the camera. Okay, you see the officer. You hear me say it. He's back a little bit behind. He's not directly inside because we have a third occupant. So this vehicle is occupied 3 times, which is...
Like I said, don't be niggas in traffic. If y'all don't know what niggas in traffic is, let me break it down for you. There's driving while black, and then there's niggas in traffic. Niggas in traffic is the niggas that do dumb shit. They do dumb stuff while they're already probably riding illegal. They ain't got no license plate. They ain't got no license. You know, stuff like that. And they're doing dumb stuff, swerving. And to add on to that, niggas in traffic is niggas that make traffic stops harder than what it needs to be. Driving while black, that's the innocent side. That's when you just driving and the police are on you, you're innocent, and they just see color. You get what I'm saying? It's a difference. Niggas in traffic. You know, niggas in Paris.
Something that's very high level, even if the report is a misdemeanor.
So you went inside with the beer? Yeah. Okay, can I get your ID real quick so I can go talk to him and check the video out?
Say I ain't got nothing to say.
What's your name, man? Pete?
If a person gives their name and the police ask and you say your name is Pete, most people aren't named Pete. I know there are some, but most people are named Peter. So that is a red flag for officers. I know people are going to comment and say, well, my name's Pete. I get it. But most people, it's the full name, and that's what you give the police.
You have your driver's license, man?
Like saying my name's Dan.
Get it real quick. If he's in the wrong, he's in the wrong. That's what I'm trying to figure out, okay? Don't take off. Obviously, I got your ID. Simple as that. I'll be back.
One good question that I think could have potentially asked, and I think would have been a good question here, is how do you guys know each other? Especially if the passenger doesn't know his information all that well. How do you guys know each other? And all the stories going to be the same.
Did he come in with it or not?
You my 10-year-old right here, whatever. What are we doing?
Did he come in with it or not?
I don't have extra.
Okay, give me 1 second.
859, I'm at Valley Head.
Let me explain something here that's really important, and it tells a lot about this officer from a tactical perspective. This is New Mexico in July. It's definitely hot. You will see officers in certain departments that will get inside of their car, inside the air conditioning, to conduct this business. This officer, for a safety reason, has chosen to endure the heat and stand outside for his own safety, because the car can be a death trap if you have 3 occupants inside that could potentially engage you.
Essentially, did you say Pete or Keith?
Experienced cop.
Case number is 77533.
The information that he gave does not match. There's an issue, and the suspect likely knows it as well. I've dealt with this, and I've had this happen many times when you know that the suspect is going to know that you now know. Interesting.
What's up?
Is it possible I can go buy cigarettes?
Same time. Let me talk to them and get things figured out, okay? Where do you have an ID out of, Pete? Connecticut? Spell your last name again for me, Pete. E-S-E-R. E-S-E-R. Out of Connecticut, right?
2 things that I'd like to mention that are just theories of mine. You see that the passenger who's accused of stealing beer has the money in his hand, which could be saying, listen, hopefully I can just pay for this. And you notice the driver was like, can I just go inside and get cigarettes? Because maybe he's like, this might go south and I don't want to be in the car. Just a theory, do not know for sure.
I understand the time, man. As soon as he gets here, I'm going inside. We'll get this all sorted out, all right?
Look at the officer walking, maintaining his visual on the car. You hear me say this. Why do we turn our backs? There's no reason for us to turn our backs. And if we do, we want to make sure we maintain a visual. He's doing a great job with this as far as walking backwards.
We got a total of 3 shoplifters. He's not coming back on file.
You see me say it in my videos. They don't need to look at each other and talk. Look at what the suspect is, because it's obviously that now he's given false info. They're formulating a plan. So far, I like what I see.
All right, Pete, do me a favor, we're going to step out. Step out for me, please.
I don't want to get out.
Okay, I'm not asking you right now. Step out for me.
Hold on. Why?
No.
Can I know why?
Because you're not coming back on file, man. Hey, step out of the car.
Can I know why?
Because you're not coming back on file for me.
What does that mean?
Step out. You're not coming back on. You can't figure out who you are. Hey, look it out. Because it's not coming back on file, you better come out now, dude.
I'm not gonna lie, and y'all gonna call me a coon, room, whatever. I don't give a fuck about your opinion. A lot of niggas be making traffic stops harder than what it need to be, and that's what I'm saying. Niggas in traffic. This is a nigga in traffic,
You gonna cooperate or what?
I'm going to cooperate.
Okay. Put your stuff down and get out.
Even if you're in the wrong, get out.
I don't want you reaching for anything, man.
I'm not reaching for anything.
On later.
I'm not reaching for anything.
Okay, step out.
Okay.
Drop your shit. Drop your shit.
I'm not reaching for anything. I'm not reaching for anything.
Dude, stop.
Turn around. Turn around.
Hey, I'm not sorry. Stay in the f***ing car.
Okay, watch me.
See, chat, and two, if you one of these type of people, you can't be my homie. If you fighting and arguing with the police, you cannot be my homie, bro. Because what are you doing? Why are you fighting with the police? Why are you fighting with the police?
And here is where I have my issue. The decision to go hands-on as opposed to calling them out of the car one by one.
Okay, I'm not asking you right now. Step out for me. No. Because you're not coming back on file, man. Hey, step out of the car. Because you're not coming back on file for me. Step out. You can't figure out who you are. Hey, listen.
I want you to take a look at this tattoo of the officer, which looks like a devil face. I just want to let you
Hold on.
know, as an officer who's been in shootings, every tattoo that you have will be scrutinized. And
Absolutely. Why that tattoo? Hold up. Why that white cop got a devil tattoo on him? Chat, y'all better watch out. Bro got a devil tat on him.
you will likely have to answer questions about the tattoos that you have.
Hey, you should ask. You gonna cooperate or what? Okay.
You got a whole lot of devil on his arm.
No, I don't want you reaching for anything, man. I'm not reaching for anything. I'm not reaching for anything. Okay, step out.
My meeting notes went from this to this after I started using granola. I'm in meetings all
or is
day.
It just the tattoo? Nah, tattoos is an expression.
Drop your shit in your left hand. I'm not reaching for anything. Turn around. I'm not reaching for anything.
Stop. Look at where the rear suspect is, and the person that they're dealing with has not been calmed down, and he's doing a whole lot of reaching. This is super dangerous. No one's been checked, and you have a non-compliant subject.
Stop. Turn around.
Turn around. Check. I mean, you stole that.
Stop it.
Stop.
Oh, he turned
Stop
into
it.
super nigga.
Stop
Uh-oh.
it. Listen, stop.
Top mount.
Stop. Stop it.
Stop it. Put one in.
Stop it.
Oh, what? Personally, I would have Whoa, what happened?
Get your hands up! Get your hands up!
Whoa. What did I miss? What did I miss? Bro got a whole taser in his hand.
Get your hands up!
So here's where the situation becomes incredibly challenging. Now it's going to felony type car stop interactions with the subjects that are inside the car, but they didn't do anything. The person that you're the issue with is now deceased on the floor. Why didn't we just call them out of the car from the beginning instead of getting into this engagement at the vehicle so you don't get into this fight with a non-compliant subject?
Driver, step out with your hands up. Open the door from the outside.
Now chat, do anybody notice anything different about yesterday and today? Now granted, I'm not saying he deserved to die or whatever. But chat, y'all remember Brian from yesterday's stream or 2 days ago? And bro had an axe, he had 2 pistols on his side, he had guns in the house, he yelling at the police, he doing all that stuff before they finally got up on him. And even when they got up on him, they was trying to use less lethal tactics. Y'all seen this brother? I'm not gonna lie, he damn near asked for what he got. He reaching for the police taser. You gonna get shot, bro.
Turn and face us. Walk towards us, your hands up. Walk towards me, over here.
This is why you can't be my partner if you don't comply with
So now the other officers arrived, and now they're doing the felony car stop, calling the subjects back to their vehicle.
Back right passenger! Step out with your hands up! Keep walking towards me, pick your hands up. Pick your hands up, walk slowly. Put your hands in the air. Keep walking. Keep walking. Hands over your face. Keep walking. Keep walking. Keep walking. Stop. Stop right there. Turn around.
Dang, they let that boy
Take
slump
note
on
of
the
where
floor.
the taser is in subject that's on the ground that is deceased.
He got the taser in his hand. He must have got the cop taser. You can't do that.
Did you shoot?
You can start setting up
Okay.
interviews.
All right, man. Let's go ahead and go over to my unit. How many shots were fired, bro? Just one? Anybody outstanding?
One and done.
No, we've got the 2 that were inside the vehicle.
Officer was gonna be there regardless.
So here's the situation. So that's the officer that discharged his firearm. The reason obviously he's saying that he can't hear is because normally you have ear protection on when you discharge your firearm. But when you don't have ear protection, it's very difficult to hear. The other thing is you notice that the other officer asked a few questions of him and he said, you don't have to tell me anything. So after the shooting, what's done by policy is the police give a public safety statement and they ask the officer involved in the shooting some questions to ensure that there were no errant rounds or no one else is injured, so that you don't say anything that you could potentially to ensure the police give a public safety statement and they ask the officer involved.
Now ask that. Look. Let's break down the film. Y'all see him reaching? Look at his arm, his right arm. He got that gripper thing on his hand.
Involved in the shooting, some questions
that look like he draws the gun right there
to ensure that
and he puts it right to his necklace.
there were no errant rounds or no one else is injured, so that you don't say anything that you could potentially incriminate yourself or be used in court. They ask for that public safety statement.
Yeah. Is this for right now? What up? Is that for right now? No.
I'm not gonna say he's guilty because like especially if they don't know what he grabbed. He's grabbing for the cop gun and stuff. You're gonna just one put in your ass.
Can you face that way from me?
You got guns and shit.
So those photographs are taken after an officer is involved in the shooting to see if there were any injuries, to see if there's anything on the officer's body that could be viewed as evidence. And you notice that this officer is really chomping down on his gum, and that could just be a way that he's getting out some of that anxiety or whatever he's going through, because that's something personal he has to deal with. But from an optics perspective, what do you think that that's going to look like to someone who wants to try to fry the officer after he just someone in the back of the head?
Did you guys see what happened?
I saw everything.
You saw everything? Did you see anything?
I didn't hear it. I just saw the guy on the floor
Like on top of the cop?
So this is incredibly traumatic for these witnesses. I mean, no one goes to work thinking they're going to witness someone being on the back of the head. From an investigator perspective, you want to get everyone separated, get their statements separate.
Were you...
My thing is, I mean, like I said, he's not necessarily wrong for putting one in his ass for reaching for the gun. But this is my thing, and this thing with cops, like, like, y'all don't know how to fight. Y'all should have checked his chin, bow. Checked his chin, boom, put him to sleep. Or rear naked choking. Y'all don't. Come on, it was for y'all. That's my thing, too. It wasn't like no one-on-one. If a one-on-one, I could definitely see it, overly see it. It was for y'all. Somebody could have checked his chin, boom, cracked his jaw, sat him down, turned the oxygen off in his brain.
A little bit more composed and you're able to tell me what you saw?
They put in the back of his head.
You know, I was watching the officer. I don't know who the officer, who was the one that got unit, the first one behind the subject's car. Okay. And I was watching him, and I told him, I looked at my coworker, and I said, he's backing up. Something's going on. Something spooked him. And that's why we have the people in the back. And so another unit showed up right behind that unit, and they were approaching the subject.
Like the cops trying to save face.
Yeah, the subject started fighting with the two officers.
Yeah, they do got
the male subject, the black subject, took him down, just wrestling, and I don't know if he was trying to go for the other officer's gun or he had him in a chokehold. The initial officer? Yes. So the subject was on top of the officer? Yes. And the other officer, I don't know if he was trying to go for the other officer's gun that he had in a chokehold or what, but the other officer pulled out his gun and he just shot him, and I was like, that's what I saw. The officer and behind him? Yeah. So there was the officer on the ground, and then I think it was the bald-headed officer on the ground.
Keto, and I'm going to be real. I don't even know how to comment, because like I said, the officer shooting him necessarily wasn't wrong. I feel like he did the right thing. But put one in the back of his head? Bro was trying to finish the job. Like, he was itching for that lethal weapon. And like I said, chat, if y'all paid attention to my stream 2 days ago, I believe, Brian had guns on him. And the axe on him. They still ain't shoot, bro. Kind of just give us as much they waited so long before they shot, bro. So I was actually one called. He got shot for less.
He came in, tried to buy a pack of cigarettes. I told him I needed to see an ID. He didn't have one.
You need to go to the gym. That is unacceptable.
I saw him walk up to the car. He called another guy. The other guy came in. Same thing. I was like, sorry, I can't do it. It's a second-hand purchase. Right. So, no issues. He walked out. A while after, another guy comes in. I saw him go around the Ramada, and then...
Bro, oh my God. Has somebody ever been so fat it pisses you off, bro?
But eventually he came out this way. Same thing, told him, can't, second-hand purchase. And then after a while, I just see both of them walk by. So I was like, okay, that's better for me. I don't...
Whoa. What's that? I just built a budgeting app in Base 44. Guys, need to...
Get in trouble, I'll say.
I was like, why y'all doing me like this? Yeah, I was like, what the fuck did I do? I ain't responsible for that shit.
Are you gonna be stupid? I'm not stupid. What are you talking about?
I do not know exactly what this subject did to get the officer to feel that he was acting in the way that he was acting, but the officer has to ask himself, and me as a sergeant, I would be saying, is this necessary? And this is really important because all of these factors are going to be taken into consideration as this incident is viewed.
So I tell him, I'm not asking you to get out. You need to get out. He's still kind of on back, holding his arms against his body. So I grab his right arm and tell him to step out. He's asking why, and I'm telling him why. You're not coming back on file at all. I'm not getting a return. And he keeps asking why, and he's not complying. Officer Arbogast asks him, well, are you going to comply? He says, yeah, I'm going to comply, but he's not doing it.
Okay, as the officer sits down with investigators to tell his part of the story, there's something that I'd like you to know if you don't already know. Police use of force is governed by the severity of the crime. Was the subject actively resisting? And was the person a threat to officers or others?
He was.
The other thing is that it must be objectively reasonable.
So we're trying to maintain control of the suspect. And like I said, due to its size, it was not possible for us to do. His arms were up towards the top of the SCBE on points where I can reach him. I grab onto his belt at one point to try to maintain some type of control because that was the only thing available to me. So Officer Arbogast, he wraps his arm around the suspect's waist. So I guess best way to describe it is Officer Arbogast does basically a suplex where he falls back with the suspect. Officer Arbogast hits his head on the ground. as suspect lands on top of Officer Arbogast, and the suspect kind of rolls up in a ball from the momentum of being thrown back. So all his weight is on top of Officer Arbogast. So after they fall to the ground, I could see him from where I'm at standing behind both of them, that he's now looking at Officer Arbogast's duty belt. He first reaches down to the gun side of his belt, and he can't get anything from there. So he keeps, as we're trying to fight to control him, he's still looking down at his belt. He sees the taser. I can see out of the corner of his eye how he's looking at it. He sees the taser handle. Obviously, it's bright yellow, so he can see it fairly easy. And it's on the opposite side of his gun. So the taser handle is out towards the suspect. So he tries to take it once, and he's not able to. And then the second time he tries to take it, he ends up taking the taser. I say taser once.
The taser is usually a cross-draw motion so that an officer doesn't mistakenly go for their firearm from the motion of drawing a firearm-like type weapon. And it doesn't have the same retention that a firearm does, because firearms nowadays, most officers have what's called triple retention holsters, which requires some degree of manipulation to get it out. And it's very difficult to pull a firearm out with a triple retention holster.
He tries to take it once, and he's not able to. And then the second time he tries to take it, he ends up taking the taser. I say taser once as it pulls the taser from Officer Arbogast's holster, and he's holding it up. And at that point, it wasn't a struggle to try to detain him. It was a struggle for Officer Arbogast's life and my life at that point. So I had to end up taking my duty weapon out. I put it to the back of his head. The suspect, so I was still cognizant of where Officer Arbogast was, because I was concerned for his safety. So I ended up placing it directly to the back of his head, downward and to the right, to avoid shooting Officer Arbogast in the process. I fired one round into the back of his head.
I'm not gonna lie.
Shooting was not justified. The officer was convicted of voluntary manslaughter. His conviction was overturned, and he is now giving a new trial, and you can follow that new trial because it's supposed to occur very soon at the time of this recording. A couple of things I'd like to say, because this is incredibly sensitive. I do not make an assessment of whether a shooting is good or bad by watching segments of body cam videos. I will tell you tactics that I see on the body cam or tactics that could have potentially made this situation avoidable. So if you like this kind of content, like the video, share it with someone else who may be a crime buff and wants to know about policing. Click on the video that's on your screen for more.
Damn, chat. Got his mind right. Man. To be real, I'm gonna be real. Chat, I think it was justified. Unfortunately, it's unfortunate. Yeah, I got a few laws when the police pull up on me. Alright, like for me, for example, first thing I'm gonna do, like, first of all them people in the car, I'm rolling down, and I learned this from Charleston White damn near. You roll down all four windows, bro. That way they know, like, okay, I see what's in the car. Me, I don't ride dirty, so ain't nothing gonna be in the car. They go, oh, okay, I'm safe. And I whip out. I got so many cameras. I got 2 phones. I got a D4vd camera, bro. I will use this if I got to. I got a dash cam. I keep cameras around me. That's one thing I do. I record the interaction. I tell the officer I'm recording for my safety and your safety. Now, what's going on? That's pretty much how that goes with that. I don't think it was necessarily wrong. Could have been handled better. Yeah. It would have been a lot less violent, but like more violent in a way, if that makes sense. Like I would have just put the beats on his beep 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 beep. His chin would have been checked up by the time I got done with him, or he would have been choked out to the point where he trying to, you feel me, get his life back. But overall, I think it was justified, bro. What? They canceled my live? They canceled my live? What are we doing? Let me live. it's my turn to get off.